You're with Julian on the Brown Note and the Crucifixion of Lidia Thorpe. If there's one thing that I really would like from the worst news media in the world, equal with the UK, it's that Australian news media held the Nationals and the Liberal politicians to even 10% of the account they hold the Greens and Labour to. So Lidia Thorpe is a Green senator, and mate, no bones about it, they were gunning from her for day one. She's an unapologetic, loud woman. That's enough to trigger our sexist boys club in Australia. And the fact that she isn't white, or at least not in their eyes, and has Indigenous roots is something that, again, she's stepping out of her place. She's facing a possible Senate censure and has lost her deputy role in the Greens over her relationship with her former bikie leader Dean Martin. What a name. Now, she's not accused of doing anything wrong except having this relationship with someone that used to be a bikie. And they're making a big thing about her being on this legal committee at the time, so she could have potentially passed information on. They briefly dated. The absolute galling hypocrisy of the news media and the right-wing politicians in this country over the way that they have treated her, it's just jaw-dropping. Have you noticed in Australia that it's never guys that lose their jobs, it's always women? She was a member of the Joint Committee on Law Enforcement from Feb 21 to April 2022. Martin, the bikie, who has no criminal convictions, was associated with the rebels but stepped down in 2018 as Victorian chapter president. They're going after her for this, but they've been going after her from the beginning. And the hypocrisy of this is jaw-dropping. She hasn't been accused of doing anything wrong. Every news media source in this country worships Gladys Berejiklian. Gladys Berejiklian's love choices were given so much sympathy. They were like, oh, she made a bad choice in love. She's on the call saying, don't tell me about corruption. Her boyfriend is actually convicted of being corrupt in office, of feathering his own nest through corrupt deals and public funds. The bikie boss hasn't got any charges against him. She is Lidia Thorpe. Lidia Thorpe wasn't working with her partner like Gladys Berejiklian. Gladys Berejiklian was the boss of her partner. She was directly involved in what her partner's business was. Unlike Lidia Thorpe, who has no connection at all with anything that her brief dalliance. Unlike Gladys's multi-year relationship, she only had a brief relationship romantically, and then she had a friendship after that. But again, Gladys actually resigned. Have a look at the guys that these same media haven't hounded out of office, and the same politicians these politicians haven't hounded out of office. Alan Tudge was accused in an ABC expose on TV of having an affair whilst married with a female member of staff whose career was then so brutally destroyed by his own party that she got $500,000 in taxpayers' money just recently in compensation. He kept his job through all of that. There was no outcry, nothing. Barnaby Joyce was campaigning for against same-sex marriage whilst boning his own staff member, getting her pregnant, and then she ends up with a $190,000 a year public purse job that no one knew existed apart from the few people involved. This is a level of corruption way ahead of anything that Lidia Thorpe is accused of. Creating a $200,000 a year job for your lover whilst you cheat on your wife. And what happened to Barnaby Joyce is he got promoted to Deputy Prime Minister. Christian Porter was defended to the hilt by the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison. He was outed on the same ABC TV show as Alan Touch, for being a lifelong misogynist, for being well known for being out late at night in Canberra with young women who weren't his wife. And he was defended by Scott Morrison when it blew up that a woman that accused him of rape many years ago had killed herself. And they defended him to the hilt. The hypocrisy on the way that they treat anyone in Labour who usually quits on the same day, or in the Greens, they hound out of office. The overriding view of the media in this country is to make the Greens out to be an extremist organisation, so that Labour and the Greens never form an alliance that the Liberals and the Nationals will never defeat. If only that had happened 20 years ago, we wouldn't be in this mess in this country now. Have a look at someone like George Christensen. George Christensen was defended to the hilt by just about all of these people. He certainly wasn't attacked. The Australian Federal Police warned the federal government MP George Christensen was at risk of blackmail due to his, and they actually put in quotes, activities in Southeast Asia. This was all hushed up. This goes back years to 2018. They were concerned that George Christensen was continually going to Manila in the Philippines. This is the bit that really gets me. He was accused of visiting prostitutes. Now, I don't give a damn about that. But the fact that he travelled so far outside the city centre and was known for buying teddy bears to go and visit these people makes me very suspicious about what kind of prostitutes he was visiting. Add to that the Australian Federal Police actually calling him a security risk. None of these talking heads on right-wing news radio and media ever called for him to step down, and he's literally been called a security threat. It's the unbelievable hypocrisy of politicians like Dutton now calling, anything that happens to anyone in the Greens, you will get unlimited mileage in the news media about, and every single soundbite from any politician will be amplified. You can go through a checklist of Liberal and National politicians that have unbelievable malfeasance, corruption, and actually associations with people that are really, really dodgy. So I just wish that our news media gave even 10% of the energy they do to hounding Liberal and Labour and Greens politicians for every single thing they do. And they were out for Lidia Thorpe from day one because she's a brown-skinned, strong, independent, unapologetic woman. All 5 of those things they detest.